too often establishment Democrats go on to these news programs and try to tag the middle, or they try to sort of become Republican light as they're explaining their points, etc. I'll tell you, Andy Beshear is a pretty middle of the road kind of guy. He's a Republican governor, or rather Democratic governor of Kentucky, a very red state that both he and his father been governors of. So they sort of they're institutionalized, if you will, there. But I tell you, I was very impressed with how knowledgeable he was about the evils, about the big, beautiful bill. And not only that, I was very impressed with how he called out Republicans for the evil that they represent. And again, I don't see that often from establishment Democrats at all. I see that from the ones that the establishment would normally call the radicals or the left. But Andy Beshear, with the way he explained Medicare or the Medicaid cuts, and the way he talked about SNAP, and the way he called out Republican governors, I tell you what, it impressed me. Check this out. We'll take it on the other side.
Governor, I do want to turn to the giant bill President Trump signed into law, what it would mean for Kentucky. 1 in 4 Kentuckians are on Medicaid, 1 in 10 on food stamps. How many will lose their benefits because of this law? And what, as governor, can you do to help?
Well, this law is devastating. It's the single worst piece of legislation I've seen in my lifetime, and it is a congressional Republican and presidential attack on rural America. In my state alone, 200,000 people are going to lose their coverage. Those are 200,000 Kentuckians that deserve to see a doctor when they're sick. 20,000 healthcare workers are going to lose their jobs, and we've got up to 35 rural hospitals that are typically the second biggest employer in their communities that may close their doors. And what that means is our economy takes a huge hit. And then whether you have private insurance or Medicaid, if you live in rural America, you have to drive hours just to see the doctor that used to be in your community. It is awful. And that is before we even talk about the cuts to SNAP, which means that seniors and children will go hungry at night and wake up hungry in the morning. I cannot believe that Congress was willing to pass this. I mean, it's awful.
They did add about $50 billion for rural hospitals. You don't think that's going to help?
No. Based on the massive cuts that are here, based on the fact that a rural hospital may have 40% or 50% of their revenue coming from Medicaid, this will not help to keep those doors open. And so what you're going to first see are rural hospitals cutting specialties. You may have to drive several hours just to give birth in many parts of this country. And just think about how the economic hit to these communities go. You lose 200 jobs from doctors and nurses and orderlies, and all of a sudden the coffee shop does worse. The bank doesn't have as many folks coming in. I mean, this is going to hit rural America right in the face.
Governor, this law adds work requirements for Medicaid on those who are able-bodied adults. Kentucky Republican Congressman Hal Rogers says adding these requirements, quote, protects the longevity of Medicaid benefits for our most vulnerable population and adds integrity and strength to Medicaid and SNAP assistance. One of the first acts of as governor, yours, was to end Medicaid work requirements in Kentucky. Why shouldn't people who can work?
Well, we want everybody that can work to work. And right now in Kentucky, we have the most people working, the most jobs filled, and the largest workforce in our history. And that is with our current Medicaid structure. That's because these work requirements really aren't about getting people back to work. They are about increasing the paperwork on everybody. That's the senior, because 70% of our long-term care costs are covered by Medicaid. And that's children as well, with half of Kentucky's kids covered by Medicaid. These work requirements aren't just for specific people. Everybody else has to check all the boxes saying they're not able-bodied. And what happens is when somebody misses that one box, they are kicked off for 6 months or more.
Governor.
Meaning families have to take that parent or grandparent in. It means they have to cover all those other costs. All this is more red tape meant to kick people who should get Medicaid off of Medicaid.
Governor, I just asked that very question to the Treasury Secretary about the increase in red tape, and his response is Democrats think poor people are stupid.
It's amazing. Listen, I know a lot of people on Medicaid. These are our parents with special needs children that could have never covered it otherwise. These are busy people, all working 2 jobs already to support that child. And now, if they miss a deadline, if they miss checking a box, look at what happens. I mean, you can lie all you want about what's in this bill, but the numbers are the numbers. The predictions by the Congressional Budget Office are there. It's going to devastate rural health care, all while adding trillions of dollars to our national debt, and it's going to upend every state budget across the country. You know what's sad is that while Democratic governors are speaking out, we're not speaking out because we're Democrats. We're speaking out because we're supposed to be the best governors of our states that we can be. All these Republican governors that aren't saying a thing, where their rural hospitals are going to close, where they're going to see massive layoffs and people lose their coverage, that's pretty sad. You know, our jobs is to stand up for and represent our people, and I wish people would get back to that.
Andy Beshear nails it. And to the Republican governors that are listening to him, he's going to be the governor of he's going to be the leader of the governor of governors, if you will. I suggest you listen to him. You won't, but I think all that does is open the door for many of you to be replaced by good Democrats, and more than likely, good progressive Democrats.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.